Hello everyone and welcome to the Melbourne Traditionalists podcast episode 44. I'm Mark Moncrief from Upon Hope, and who are you again?
Just this guy.
I seem to remember something about David?
Yeah.
Is that your name?
No.
No? No. What is your name?
I don't know.
It's David Hiscox.
Yeah. It's good to be back.
We have David Hiscox from XYZ. How are you, David?
Excellent.
Now, since I started doing the podcast by myself, I've had people say, hey, I really like you doing it just by yourself because you can really get into a subject in more depth.
Yeah, the ones that I have listened to yours, because I'm a little bit behind now, I've actually really enjoyed. I think they've been the best ones that you've done. They've been really, really good because you understand subjects, and so you bring out the key points and you make them relevant to now too. It's been really, really fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And then other people have said to me, oh, when's Dave coming back?
They're wrong.
And, they said, it's not as spontaneous. There's no back and forth, and it's not as funny. So when's Dave coming back? And then I've had someone else, a third person say, as in I've had more than one person say each of those.
Yes.
And then I've had one other person say, oh, actually, I don't like the podcast. I prefer the other episodes that you do. So here I am trying to please everybody, and it's not working. So from now on, I'm not doing that.
I think you should just balance it up.
Well, that's the plan from now on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
1 week on with just me, and then 1 week on with the both of us.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah.
And that way we can mix it up and hopefully get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
Let's see if that works.
I think that'll work.
Yeah. Now, I haven't seen you for about 6 weeks.
Yeah,
We've spoken.
It's been a little while.
But the first time, you're looking good.
Yeah, I feel good. Yeah, I've been staying fit during lockdown. I've been going for runs and keeping up exercise, so I'm feeling pretty good. I've been eating well too. I've been eating better because even when I'm sort of out and about, I do try to not buy just food out and about. But, I've been doing that even less. So I've been eating well, living well, generally getting up early each morning.
But you told me today you went for a run.
Yeah,
it's pretty cold this morning.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was really, really lovely. Yeah, it was a good way to warm up.
Now, you were telling me about that some students have fallen off.
Just a handful. Yeah.
But that you're still teaching.
Yeah, I've still been teaching. I've been saving money on petrol because I've been driving everywhere. But I have been able to just I've done a little bit of teaching from the studio where I teach, and a lot of teaching from home. So I've financially I'm actually up from the lockdown. It's suited me quite nicely.
Well, I'm better off financially as well because the government's decided to be quite generous.
Yes.
But that will all end one day. So we all have to remember that.
Yeah, well, my approach is that people, usually I would advise being frugal, but right now I think it's actually worth spending your money while it's still worth something. Because the government has basically gone, let's just print money and give it to people. That's what they're doing. And I'm like, well, I'll take it.
Well, exactly. I mean, we're all going to pay for this in the long term, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh, we won't.
Well, I disagree. I think we will.
No,
I think we will, and other people will pay. It will be ongoing.
If we have any.
Now, I have a beef to pick with you.
Yeah, what's that?
You promised us a pandemic.
Yes,
You promised that there would be piles of corpses in the street.
I believe,
every time I drive down a street and don't see a pile of corpse, I think, David Hiscox.
I have to say I'm bitterly disappointed. I predicted hundreds of millions, and then hundreds of millions from the wars to follow.
But you're not the only one, are you?
No. I may be one of the few to say, yes, I was wrong.
Absolutely.
And I think I may be one of the fewer to look at my own motivations for being wrong.
Let's talk about them.
Yeah. It's been really interesting contrasting the kind of action that you advise, which is basically the hard slog, the hard political slog, legwork, boring work.
Yep.
And this approach that I have. Well, how would I put this?
Well, I talked about this in the Revolution episode.
Yes.
Where the people were talking about this being a revolutionary phase,
yes.
and we can basically short circuit the system.
Yes.
And I guess you were thinking, hey, that's really appealing to me.
Yes. One of the things that inspired me to get going with the blog was reading Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged.
You mean XYZ? Getting XYZ?
Yes, that's it. That was one of the things that triggered me off. And I've rejected a lot of the things from Atlas Shrugged while taking a few core elements. And one of those core elements is the idea that our society is not sustainable.
Yep.
And that's something that we can agree on.
Yep.
But I like the idea that there will be some event which mass red pills everybody, makes everything fall apart, so people have no choice but to change the way that they live and change the system.
Yeah.
And so that's the way that I saw coronavirus, and that was my motivation for saying this is going to be the big one. And so there's a bit of magical thinking involved in that, which
we all fall for at time to time.
Yes, and it's extremely alluring because it's an easy out. My biggest fear is that this system has a way of being able to just find a way to keep itself going.
It is one of the really amazing things about liberalism is how it has managed to keep itself going.
Yeah.
But of course it means that at the end, all the options are gone. Certainly the easy options. And all we'll be left with is hard choices.
It's an interesting one. The financial system is still it's fake and it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You can still make the case that the shutdown has been induced to cover for the collapse of the financial system. But things are still going. They're talking about getting people back to work. It's just that the country will be $60 billion extra in debt, which really isn't that great comparing to the whole debt that the country already has anyway.
Well, the problem isn't just that we're incurring the debt, but that there's no actual plan to pay it off.
Yeah. Oh, it's not going to be paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is going to come due.
Oh, yes.
And there's the problem that we all have.
Yeah. And so again, it's my thinking. It's maybe this is it. Maybe it'll come due. Then everybody has to make a choice. I've been finding myself getting very agitated the last few weeks because I'm like, no, we can't all go back to work and pretend that everything's just going to go back to normal, because things aren't normal and normal isn't good.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Normal is not good. Normal is things continue to get bad.
Yeah,
things are bad and they get worse.
Yes, yes. Mind you, so when I hear the arguments about we shouldn't have shut down the economy and destroyed jobs in the economy for this coronavirus, for me, I don't care. I really don't care about that either, because again, normal is not good.
Yep.
So what are you saying? We're going to all just keep working and not having enough children and keep going further into debt and keep importing people. So for me, destabilizing the economy, you could say, well, at least it's a little bit accelerationist. Mm-hmm. It's been quite funny reading the articles in the newspaper saying, there's these right-wing extremists.
Yes, there has been a few recently.
They're accelerationists, and they want to try to bring about the whole collapse of the system.
Yeah.
And like, there's a part of me which puts my hands up and says yes, but it's like, no, that's not what we're doing. All we do is get out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even those people who say yes, let's accelerate things, very few of them are actually making that happen.
Yeah, it's all they're doing is saying, look, all we have to do is nothing.
Yeah. We were talking before about you being a musician.
Yes.
And how you're happy that live music is not taking place.
Yes, because live music in Melbourne is bullshit. It amazes me that people come to Melbourne because they think that Melbourne is the epicenter of music in Australia.
Well, it shows you how bad everywhere else is.
Oh yeah, especially in Sydney with the lockout laws and all that sort of stuff. But you know, then they come to Melbourne and then they find, we're still just playing in some dingy venues, which will fit like 100 people or 200 people at most. Usually, we're all playing to like dozens of our friends. And the getting on the radio and getting big, like. You have to get lucky with social media, or you have to get chosen by the people who decide to put you on radio.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a lot of crap music.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
There is a lot of crap music. Yeah.
There's some great music, as well. Like I've been to just amazing performances too, and seeing amazing musicians.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of crud, and. I haven't performed regularly for several years.
Mm-hmm.
I got sick of I never complain about hauling my gear around and going as far as I need to for like even just a short performance. Don't mind that at all.
Yep.
But I got sick of washing my clothes of all the marijuana smell.
Of the other musicians.
Yes. And just the fact that that musicians almost universally seem to either be at best soft left and at worst hard left. There was a classical performance where I worked harder than I had ever worked in my life, and just before we're about to go on, a female performer who I was going on with complained about the fact that because they had about the fact that her pants didn't have pockets, and that was a sign of the patriarchy. and I almost didn't want to go on. I only went on because I'd worked so hard for it.
Yeah. I must say that I have never been a big fan of live music, and primarily, actually, there's two reasons. One is this is in the mid '80s. Do you remember the song "Big Country" by the band Big Country? They're a Scottish band, and they had exactly one hit, and they performed live at the Emmys or something like that, and it was just terrible. It was just absolutely awful, and it really turned me off live music.
All right.
But the second thing is, occasionally, come out with us and go see this or do that, blah, blah, blah. And there's always the political statement.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, that's not what I turned up for.
Yeah.
I don't care what your politics are. Even if you disagree with me, that's fine, but I didn't come here for you to agree with me or disagree with me.
Yeah. I love the idea that you can just have music for music's sake, but both the classical world and the popular music world are just completely infested, and so I'm like, I like the fact that it's like all of that is just being swept away. Again, like there's a little bit of I've got an incentive for hoping that it actually does fall away. Like it may all come back in a little bit of time. But I have no sympathy for the vast bulk of performers. The irony is as well, like with all the extra time that I've had, I've been able to. I've been spending lots of time on the piano. Like the time that I've saved, I've generally spent learning classical music, and it's been beautiful. Been really beautiful.
So you've been perfecting your craft.
Yeah. I've used the extra time and the slower pace of life, just to have a better quality of life.
So what have you enjoyed about the lockdown? We're going to call it the lockdown, even though you complained that it's not a lockdown.
Let's do my complaint.
Yeah, all right. Do your complaint.
It's not a lockdown. We're allowed out of our houses. We go to the supermarket, and the supermarket is packed. We go to all the stores where you need to get essential stuff, and they're packed. And it's like people are still next to each other. It's such bullshit. and like you go to stores and they've blocked off the aisles, and you have to go up one way and come down the other. So rather than walking 2 meters to get to the counter, you have to walk 20, which is good because we get exercise. You know, it's just so stupid. And I've loved the fact that there's been less traffic on the road. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
But there's still traffic on the road.
But there has been a lot less traffic on the road.
Yeah.
Although some days, like I was saying yesterday, Sunday, there are actually more traffic than there is today on Monday.
Yeah.
But the reason that there's less traffic is that there's less businesses open. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands maybe of businesses are in lockdown.
Yeah.
And they are not allowed to open by law. I'm just emphasising those points. And so I'm quite happy with the term lockdown.
Yeah,
now, what have you enjoyed about lockdown? Because I had a discussion with my adult niece about this, and she was like, I just want it to end. I want normal life to go back to normal. And she said, but all these people are saying, but I don't want it to end. And I was like, well, actually, it makes a lot of sense. You know, a lot of people have got to reconnect with their family, with their husband or wife, their children. And, they've got to actually experience life with them. Whereas on a normal basis, it's, hi, bye. And, they're racing around like a chicken with its head cut off.
Yeah.
Now, what have you enjoyed?
I want to probe. I don't want to pry, but I just want to probe one thing.
Yep.
Like your niece, does she have children?
No.
Yes. And there's your answer. There's a distinction, I think, between. I think women are more keen for the lockdown to end.
All right.
I'll get to that later. I'm still forming. So yeah, basically, I have loved the slower pace of life.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to parents of some of my students, and they've enjoyed the slower pace of life as well.
Yeah. And have they mentioned reconnecting with their children? I mean, maybe not directly, but indirectly.
Indirectly,
yeah.
Yes. So anecdotally from like the people that I've spoken to, like families, they've appreciated the slower aspect of life. I've read again anecdotal evidence from articles where people are saying that they've enjoyed the slower pace of life. There was one where a mother said that because they're not always taking their kids around to sports and music and dance.
Which is exactly what you've said about your job.
Yeah. She said that the kids, even though they might be, like, they don't have as many activities, she's never seen her kids this relaxed.
Yeah, I would agree, yeah.
I've deeply missed my my own family, like my nieces and my brother and my mum and my dad. But because I've been able to see them because they're far away and there were the rules. You don't want to kill your grandma. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is true.
Yeah.
They are the most vulnerable.
Yeah. But like we've all been in touch heaps, which has been lovely.
Yeah.
I've had time to have good long phone conversations with friends, yourself included.
Yep.
Again, reading anecdotal evidence in newspapers, there was a mother talking about how because the kids all in their street, they weren't able to go to school, but then because most people were working from home, there was less traffic. All the kids were going back to playing in the streets together. And it was like they had an old neighbourhood back. And she said this. She said that she's really glad that her kids have been able to experience, even for a little bit, the kind of childhood that she had. And that's just one of the saddest things I've ever read in my whole entire life, because it's an admission that this modern life is awful. Yeah. It's destroying our kids' childhood. Like this morning when I went for a run, the Oval is next to a childcare centre, and I saw all these parents dropping off these little midgets, these tiny little munchkins, to the childcare, and then I saw them drive off, and it's not like I'm projecting, but I could see the guilt on them.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
No, quite right. Yeah. I mean, as you wrote in an article,
yeah.
We shouldn't have an aged care industry, and we shouldn't have a childcare industry.
Yes.
And because families should be doing 90% of these jobs.
Yes.
These sectors should be so small that you can't call them an industry.
Yes. Yeah. They should just be specialised for the people who just have no option.
Yeah.
Rather than just a general thing that everybody does.
That's right. Yeah.
So I've loved that aspect of it.
Well, I must say that I have enjoyed the lower traffic.
Yes.
And it's been actually nice to drive around Melbourne again.
Yeah.
And you can get places in quite reasonable time.
Yeah.
And but apart from that, my life hasn't changed very much.
Okay.
And I haven't really experienced very many negatives. Although I must say, every social occasion that I had planned, including my 50th birthday, couldn't happen.
That is a shame. Well,
I was planning a big party, and it's.
Well, you can still have one. It'll just be later.
Yeah. Well, I was told by someone that as you don't have a party, I'm still 49 plus 1.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I guess it's still an option.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it. And, it's just like building up the pressure in a hose. It'll be a big one. Yeah.
Negatives. You were talking about your family. You haven't been able to see them.
Yeah. I got to see them
because they've relaxed the rules a little bit now.
Yeah. So I gave everybody a big hug.
Yeah.
which was really lovely. Negatives. Okay. So I hate the way that we're starting to see advertisements which are talking about this, the new normal, that stuff.
Yeah.
I just saw an advertisement where it has people touching feet instead of handshaking. Like this sort of, it's like the propaganda is finding its way into corporate advertising to spread this idea that we all have to keep apart from each other. When you read like I've only read like the first half chapter of Brave New World.
Yeah.
But like when you want to know like how did that happen, this is how it happens. Like this is the start of it all. Like we all have to keep apart from each other. I was at the supermarket yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I even took a photo. We can put it up on when we share this podcast. And at the self-service checkouts. I like using self-service checkouts at supermarkets because I hate talking to people.
I never use self-service.
Yeah. Adam Pickett has this thing about no, they've got to serve me. I'm not going to do the work for them. Anyway, there are barriers between each
Yeah.
self-service checkout, and I just burst out laughing. And I took a photo because it's hilarious. Like, and like, I see the tape over the chairs, and so I've been making a point of taking photographs of all of this stuff because I'm like, in 50 years' time, nobody will believe me. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah. And
if you sit on a chair in public, you're going to kill grandma. Get stuffed.
Yeah. And there's one of the stupid things is that even as more information has become available, it hasn't changed the official policy. The official policy started off stupid and has stayed stupid.
Yeah.
Now, you know, if you were going to shut down the country, then shut transport in and out, so people can't move.
Yes.
You know, all right. So they did that, but then they shut down all elective surgery. All right. So only emergency surgery, and they can concentrate on one disease, COVID-19, as if every other disease has miraculously been cured. Whereas it would have made sense if in every state they designated 2 hospitals to be the COVID-19 centres and the other hospitals continued on.
No, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
that's common sense.
Well, exactly, and we've had a severe lack of common sense.
You realise they're listening to us. They'll drag you off for that sort of
And, you know, so there was practical things that they could have done.
Yes.
But instead we've had this massive overreaction. And I must say, as I've walked around and I keep seeing people wearing masks and, you know, industrial masks, you know, that you use in workplaces. And I have to stop myself from laughing.
Yes.
You know, because it's so ridiculous.
Yes.
Whereas old people, yeah, it makes sense, all right? But even for people my age, it doesn't make sense, you know, unless you've got some pre-existing condition. So, you know, seeing just all these people, you know, young and old, male and female, walking around with these things. But it's still good that most people are not wearing masks.
Yeah, to me that's a little bit of a sign that people just don't buy the rubbish. Just a little bit. Mind you, what I was saying before, I do find it intriguing because I do tend to catch colds.
Yep.
I have not caught a cold all year.
Now, can I ask you, this year, have you been much more physically active than in past years? Like exercise, running, you know, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I've been stepping that up, so I'm getting healthier and healthier. Like the last few years have been the healthiest of my life.
Yep.
So there's that aspect of it. But the fact that I'm having less contact with people and there is this antisocial distancing in place.
Yep.
And the fact that, like, because I have been worried about the Chinese diversity flu, whenever I've had like a hint of a sore throat, I've gargled warm salty water.
Yep.
So I've actually, like, you can actually make the case, well, maybe this antisocial distancing does work because I haven't actually caught anything.
Well, that's true, but I worried that when things return to normal, then people will get a lot sicker.
Because our immune systems need that, yes.
Yeah, we need that contact and so forth. And so, so I am worried about that. Now, I wanted to deal with one final subject with you.
Yes.
And that is Star Wars and Star Trek.
Oh, right, okay, sure.
We were talking about this before we came on air.
Yes.
And I wrote an article because I saw a video about Picard, which is the latest incarnation of Star Trek. And basically they've taken this iconic character and they've completely ruined him, right? And now they've admitted that it was on purpose. That was the whole aim of doing this new series. And so this guy called Overlord DVD did a segment on YouTube about it, and he's like, you know, how can they do this? And so I wrote an article about why they like to do this. You know, it's all about the revolution. It's all about destroying Western civilization. So this is exactly what they want to do. And as I wrote that article, and you were talking about it.
Yes.
And you were talking about your insight.
Yes. Well, because Vox Day just the other day linked to the fact that there's been a kids' remake of the Battle of Hoth.
Yes.
Where Princess Leia is now the general rather than the princess, and so they've completely written the male general out of the story, and so he's just talking about the retconning going on even with the original trilogy of Star Wars there. And so something that I've known about for a few years, but then I've got quite into in recent months.
Although I would like to point out that Han Solo shot first.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that is since the 90s that you can't buy that version.
Yeah, wow.
So I was speaking to my nephew. He's nearly 30 now, and he grew up with Greedo shooting first.
Wow.
And I said, no, Han Solo shoots first. And he said, that makes so much more sense. Because it doesn't make any sense how Greedo could miss at that range.
Yeah, yeah. And Han Solo just kind of moves his head.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Yeah. It's like, I know the stormtroopers are bad, but I have finally delved into the lore of Warhammer 40k. This stuff is
because you've missed one of the points that you made earlier.
Oh yes,
which was Star Wars and Star Trek are basically the Liberal and Labor.
Yes.
Of.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So what I find amazing about Warhammer 40k is that it is basically hardcore nationalism in space.
Yep.
The human race is depicted as like thoroughly alien.
Yep.
And every race is completely xenophobic, and that's entirely natural, which it is. And every race, every race in the galaxy has two goals. One is to survive, and the other is to destroy every other race in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's completely understood that, like, when you fight for your own people. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing, and it's amazing. And so, like, having gotten into this and this way of thinking, I now see Star Wars as the fake Liberal and Labor. Yeah, because Star Wars always had a bit more action, and Star Trek was always a little bit. It was
more preachy.
Yeah, more preachy. Lots of dialogue.
Multi-cult.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And so we've had science fiction fans arguing over Star Wars and Star Trek for the last couple of generations, literally human generations. And it's all there. It's all fake. Like it's all there as a distraction, as a diversion, for men who like want some kind. Like science fiction is, and fiction in general. It's the stories. It's how we tell stories about ourselves. Like as we've sort of said about Lord of the Rings. Like it's a way that we flesh out a history for ourselves.
Yeah.
And science fiction is that, but sort of projecting ourselves into the future. Like what are we going to be like? And so we've had these two fake ideas of what our future is going to be like presented as the opposing possibilities. When Warhammer 40k has just sort of been kept out on the fringes, and it's essentially what's happened. Yeah, with politics, like we've got liberal and Labor, fake right, fake left, but nationalism is the actual real deal, but like it's just sort of been kept off to the sidelines.
No, you're quite right, and it's quite fascinating looking at Warhammer 40k, and just how it's. I think one of the mottos of it is without mercy. It's quite a brutal universe, but it's absolutely survival of the fittest.
Yeah, in the grim darkness of the grim future, there is nothing but war.
In the grim darkness of the future, there is only war. Now, I said that was the last thing, but I'm actually going to put one more thing in.
Yes.
Now, you and I both spoke at the Melbourne Traditionalists conference.
Yes.
And there were 5 speakers in total. 3 of them were recorded. Now they're all up on the Melbourne Traditionalist YouTube page, and we're going to soon, hopefully in the next week, have a BitChute page.
Oh, good.
So all of these will be up there, although we haven't decided whether they'll all go up at once or whether we'll feed them in bit by bit. But I wanted to say that my talk, I've had 94 views, and your talk from ABC to XYZ, 97. I can't believe you're in front.
Oh, people are watching that. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But we both get blown out of the water. Why the dissident right needs E.F. Schumacher, 195.
Oh, good stuff.
So there's people out there looking at it, and
good to know.
And it is good to know, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is good to know. Now, I think we might end it there. And thank you for coming in, David. It's quite good to have you back.
It's been a real pleasure.
And we'll do it every fortnight.
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you, everybody, and I will catch you again next week.